Welcome to the first and final word with Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on all of our social media pages, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to be discussing the Green Bay Packers going to Dallas, Micah Parsons' return to Dallas, and the Cowboys and Packers, it's going to make me sick to my stomach to say this one, tied at 40. Before we even go further, football, can we please, we talked about all the college games, can we just change the overtime rules? Just play an additional 15-minute period, and if the game is still tied after that, play another 15-minute period, and so on and so forth. Let's get an actual winner. We should never have a game end in a tie. We shouldn't have these ridiculous rules. Just play real football. I mean, come on, this just sucks. It's just awful. It's not
Yeah,
what we want to see. It's very
yeah,
frustrating. I'll touch on some of the injuries before I get your thoughts because they were a problem
sure.
in the game. So we'll start with the Packers offense without their starting left guard, their starting right tackle, wide receivers Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, arguably their top two wide receivers. For
Yeah,
the Cowboys offense, they were without their rookie right guard. They're without their star wide receiver, who's definitely their number one wide receiver in the perennial All-Pro, perennial Pro Bowler, CD Lamb. And on the defensive side of things for the Cowboys, both of their former first-team All-Pro cornerbacks were banged up. They did both play, but Trayvon Diggs did not start the game. He's missed so many games the past couple of years. Teron Bland also missed most of last season. He did start the game, but they both played limited snaps. They oftentimes weren't even on the field at the same time. In some cases, including at the end, they were, but you could tell how that they were hurt and they struggled some, especially Teron Bland. He's clearly not healthy, but hey, credit to him
no.
for gutting out and giving it a go. We saw more injuries during the game. We saw the Packers defensive tackle Wyatt go down, and that clearly had a big impact. He did not return, and we saw the Cowboys lose their starting safety, Malik Hooker. He went out and
Ooh,
did not
bad
return.
injury.
So, yeah, it was toe injury, and we know from Joe Burrow how significant that could be if it's turf toe and bad turf toe.
Oh,
So
yeah. You hit the nail on the head.
we'll see what comes from that. And I know there were a couple more injuries that I didn't touch on here. It was a rough night in regards of that and the final result. But in terms of the game itself, it was a crazy back and forth game that was immensely entertaining. So let's have some fun with it. Nelson, what were your takeaways?
So, audience, I hope you're ready because this is going to be a great game to discuss and talk about. My God, even though it ended in a tie, which was so frustrating, as Chris has stated.
Yeah.
I mean, have a day, both the offenses. There was no defense in this game, it seemed from the start. But hey, if you're looking for a primetime matchup, I mean, 80 points scored by both teams. I mean, you cannot complain. Jordan Love, 31 for 43, 337 through the air. All three touchdowns to Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs, he must have had stickum
The
on his
hat trick.
hands because he was catching everything.
Great game all around. Yeah, he really did. Yeah, Jordan Love was sensational up until the end. I mean, it missed chance to win it, but he was great as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw him for the first time, I think, in a very long time scramble. I think it was like 20, 30 yards. Like, it's not often you see Jordan
Yeah.
Love just take off and run. Josh Jacobs, my God, did that guy have himself a game?
Yeah. Oh
Again.
yeah. Oh
Ooh,
yeah.
22 for 86 on the ground, two touchdowns, four receptions, 71 yards also to add to that. And he
What a
was the most,
performance.
I thought he was the most effective player on the Packers by far, even though it
Romeo
could be
Dobbs had a
said
hat
that,
trick, so that's saying
yeah,
something.
even though it could be said Romeo Dobbs was the deciding factor either way. But still, I mean, great offensive game plan from the Packers to be able to go down, especially and annihilate that defensive rush that, they're so good with against the run. They were able to control the trenches, get down the field many, many times. But to give Dallas credit, I was one of the few going into this game to say, okay, everyone and their mother is thinking that this game it's going to be a blowout. Green Bay is going to come in and
Yeah, they
dominate.
did. That was interesting. Yeah,
I did not see that coming. I said,
I
we
agree.
have Dak, we had Dak. That
Yeah,
offense can hum. That offense
I
can still
concur.
be very proactive. And I said,
Yeah,
it would not shock me the world if Dallas upsets Green Bay at AT&T Stadium, and literally Jerry Jones does show up against Micah. But listen, Dak did it. 31 for 40,
oh, he was
319 through the air,
unbelievable.
three touchdowns. I mean, he stood in that pocket, took hits to the head. He was still
It
delivering
was
great
amazing.
throws to
Yeah,
Pickens. Pickens had
yeah.
himself a great game. I
Outside of the
mean, that
drop, but he did
that
outside the
last
drop.
touchdown catch that he was able to have to essentially force the field goal coming back from the
Yeah,
Packers.
yeah, yeah.
Heck of a
The go
catch
ahead
that
touchdown
had
late.
But heck of a read too by Dak, noticing that there's single coverage on the outside, noticing that the safety's going to cover the center field. The other safety was coming down. Excellent read, excellent
Yeah.
throw. I mean, Dak was on point in that game.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and granted, listen, I'm not the biggest Cowboy fan, but Dak was one of my favorites coming out of college at Mississippi State, and I
Okay.
thought Dak had a great game. But either
Absolutely.
way, I thought it was a great last 5 minutes of the game. We saw what they did, as you stated. I mean, first it was the Turpin run back to the 40, Pickens then scoring.
Yeah.
Then you had the Packers coming back, and McManus hitting that 53-yard field goal.
Yeah, and they knew he
And
was
then,
going to, and it was no doubt right down the middle.
but
Yeah.
I do have one remark to give.
Yeah.
Why did the Packers kick on the overtime? I don't get it. Put the
Well,
pressure
a tie
on the.
is better than a loss, and they just taken a shot to the end
Hold
zone
on,
on the prior play.
hold on. Let me explain.
Okay.
You know your defense could potentially be better than the Cowboys defense to hold them to a field goal, right? The game dictated might have dictated otherwise. But if I had a gamble, my defense could force per se a fourth and let's say out or a just basically game-ending drive, whatever. My defense, I'd take it over their defense. Why wouldn't you get the ball first, knowing that they had no answer for Jacobs, they had no answer for
Oh,
Dobbs,
you're not
they
talking
had
about the
no
end of
answer for
overtime.
Kraft?
You're talking about the coin toss.
Yes. Why wouldn't you, LaFleur, take it, run with it, control the game, get the touchdown, force him to go the length
Yeah.
of the field
Yeah.
instead of you having to
But
basically force into the situation
let's go
where you
deeper.
got very lucky to basically have 1 second left to score to kick that field goal for a tie. I'll
But
leave
let's
it
go
at that.
deep.
You can go ahead.
Let's go deeper into that. The overtime rules are that each team possesses the ball once, and then it goes to sudden death if it's tied after those first two possessions. So you're actually giving Dallas the opportunity to have their offense in the field for the third possession if it comes to that in sudden death overtime. So why would you do that? You should always take the ball in overtime because of the sudden death rules. Giving
You
the
agree with
opposing
me.
team the ball, you're giving them an additional possession to be able to score it in
Hit
sudden
it on the
death and
head.
win the game, and you never get a chance to answer. So it's nothing to do with controlling the clock in the game and all of that. It's just giving away a potential possession. Obviously, it didn't play out that way because the Cowboys' drive was so long, and the Packers used the remainder of the clock, which works out for us as fans because we don't have to worry about the stupid sudden death rules that take away a possession from one of the teams and all that. It's just absurd, but those overtime rules really frustrate me. The big story was Micah Parsons, so let's touch on Micah Parsons. 3 total tackles, the first 2 of which came in regulation. Neither of them were solo. He did have what counts as a sack on Dak Prescott on the 3rd down and goal, forcing the Cowboys to kick the field goal in overtime, which allowed the game to end in a tie. And that was his 3rd tackle, only solo tackle. It was for no gain officially from Dak Prescott, but it counts as a sack. So Micah Parsons did make the big play late. On the Cowboys' first touchdown drive of the second half, Michael Parsons did have to come out of the game briefly, being evaluated for a concussion, which he seemed to not feel was a concussion and was very upset about. He was ultimately right. He just had some back pain, but the way the
Yeah.
Cowboys' offense was rolling from the end of the first half onward, I don't think it would have made a difference, but we'll never know. In terms of what we saw from the actual game, you're right. It was insane back and forth. But, I mean, at the start of the game, the Packers were dominating. They marched right down the field, scored a touchdown. The Cowboys go 3 and out. They get the ball back. And I know we had to stop then, but the Packers forced the Cowboys' first 2 drives. They stopped them on both, forced punts. And on their 3rd drive, they went down and scored another touchdown. And that extra point. Stop me if you've heard this one before. We saw a blocked kick attempt.
Run back
I
for
don't-
2-point conversion.
The block 2, I don't think I've ever seen a block 2 because they didn't always have. In
First
college,
time
they've
for
had it
me.
for a long time. I don't.
First
in
time for me.
NFL, they've only 10 years or so, maybe if that. They've had the rule where you can actually return for a 2-point conversion from the defense. The block 2, and I sat there after that play. I'm like, I wonder if that's a momentum flipping play. I wonder if the momentum.
It was.
It
It
did.
was.
Yeah, they go down and they get the touchdown. That George Pickens catch that he made between 2 defenders sideline. I mean, Dak Prescott threw up a Russell Wilson moonball, and that catch he had, that was unbelievable.
But you got to give credit to the defensive line for the Cowboys for that pass rush to force the fumble on
That's later.
Love
That
to
came
be able
later.
to get.
That
Yeah.
came
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
This was before
Okay.
that. Yeah. But you're right, absolutely. But prior to that, this happened, and then Dak Prescott had the 2-yard touchdown run on the quarterback draw to finish the drive.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the strip sack on Jordan Love, and he had the trifecta: the sack, the strip, the forced fumble and the fumble recovery. And then immediately, one play was at 4 seconds. George Pickens strike from Dak Prescott in the end zone, touchdown Cowboys. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
they're leading the game after the extra points, 16-13. And you're just sitting there like, they were just down 13-0 before that. And the Packers are lining up for an extra point to make it potentially 14-0. And it just flipped. And it was stunning the way it flipped. But they came out in the second half with the ball. They got Javonte Williams going, who had a good game, and they're moving the ball, and then they had the false start. And then George Pickens drops the ball in what would have been a good game, the first down, and kept the drive alive. And considering the fact the Packers outside of that drive did not stop the Cowboys at all from those last two drives, the first half through the end of the game until they got them to kick the field goal in overtime, you have to wonder, the Cowboys, that it seems like that cost them the game. George Pickens had an unbelievable game. He was great, but that drop seems like it cost them the game. They should have won the game. And I know there were a ton of injuries on both sides and a lot of circumstances, but, I mean, come on. We saw so many personal foul penalties and procedural penalties, false starts from both teams, but the one the Cowboys had late in the game after the team started going back and forth, because the Packers got the ball back after that off the punt, marched on the field, touchdown, and they just, I mean, it was unbelievable. Just touchdown, just answering each other all the way through until the Packers had to settle for the field goal because time ran out to force overtime. And then again, as you mentioned, it was fourth and goal anyway, but in overtime they had to do it as well. But they couldn't really utilize Josh Jacobs to run the ball because of the clock situation in overtime. And Jordan Love, of course, had the incomplete pass, hitting the defender in the back on the final pass attempt, which before that he'd had such a great game, as you mentioned. But they had the personal foul when the Packers took their turn and dropped the pass. This is the Packers' last touchdown drive in regulation, so their second last drive to take the lead. And the Cowboys defender inexplicably hits him well after he drops the ball. Personal foul, free 15 yards. And
I didn't get that.
Look, they didn't stop the Packers at all in the second half prior to that point, and really for most of the game, as you mentioned up front. And maybe they don't anyway, but it's so frustrating that that's how it happened. You can't give it to them. So it's a frustrating loss for the Dallas Cowboys. So frustrating for us as fans that ends in a tie, but that's a game you feel like the Cowboys should have won. And then they fully changed the narrative on the Micah Parsons trade. I do want to mention there's another guy involved in that trade, and Kenny Clark, who was playing against his former team last night as well. And he actually had some good moments. I know the defense gives up 40 points, and it looked horrible, but he did have some good moments and plays on the rare occasions they were able to stop the Packers at the end of that first half.
Yeah, and give credit to rookie Donovan Ezeracco, too. I thought he had some moments in that game.
He looked so good at Boston College. Yeah, he looked great. Big hitter. Oh, yeah, he looked really good. He's one of those guys you try to figure out how he slipped in the draft with the way he played in college last year. One of the best players in the country by far. I mean, just...
I don't know.
Amazing. Yeah.
But there is one other point I do want to add in, and I'm sure you'll be able to discuss too. Now, granted, again, I think Green Bay still should have won this game in light of when you're overtime, you should have take the ball first and whatnot. But losing Nate Hobbs at some point during the game, big blow, big blow.
Yeah.
Nate Hobbs was one of the best corners, and Cowboys spotted that, and Dak took advantage of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, the one other play we need to reference that set up the field goal in overtime for the Cowboys on their opening possession was the fadeaway from Dak Prescott launching up, and somehow Jalen Tolbert came back and caught the ball and kept his feet in bounds. And we talked about the George Pickens catch on the other sideline at the end of the first half. They had that one in the second half. I mean, credit to Dak Prescott for getting these balls up there where these guys can catch it. But those receivers made those plays. And I mean, we're talking about no CD Lamb, who's by far one of the best receivers in the league. You know, I'd say he's top 4 or 5 receivers in the league, unquestionably. I mean, that's just
Dak.
rookie right guard.
Listen,
They're still doing that on offense. I know
that's
the Packers
Dak
are
magic.
defensively, but
That's Dak magic, and you know what? I'm happy for Dak. I still think, and I think we had a conversation. If Dak is healthy and the rest of the offense is healthy, I think Dak is a legitimate top 5, maybe top 4, considering
that's
at
what I've
play.
been saying. 2 years ago, Dak Prescott was all pro. We ignored
Yeah.
that. I mean, we talk about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is 3 years removed from his last All-Pro season, and look, I get it that you can debate that type of stuff all you want, but Dak Prescott was hurt most of last year. I mean, when we've seen Dak Prescott at his best, it's always been the consistency with him, and he turns the ball over a bit too much. And he is playing in another new offense. You know, it's the offense is similar, but another new offensive play caller. And we'll give Brian Callahan credit for that, and Matt LaFleur, the 2 head coaches calling offensive plays.
Brian
It's also
Schottenheimer.
cool. Yeah. Did I not say that?
Brian Schotten. You said Brian Callahan. Brian Schottenheimer.
I'm so sorry, Brian Schottenheimer. Too many Brians and head coaches and play callers in the league. Brian Callahan,
It's all good.
his life is rough right now for the Tennessee Titans, but I need to do better with my names. Listen, guys, if you're fans of the podcast, know one thing about me. You might be blown away at the stuff I can remember, but I am names are not one of
It's
them.
all
Apparently,
good. Sometimes
my
happens.
inability to remember names, I filled it up with all this other stuff I can remember because I don't have notes over here. I'm just doing this. You got anything else, Nelson?
If I'm the Cowboys, honestly, I think your potential for a Cowboys being the top dog in the division might be may look really good. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule and they got a soft one coming. They got the Jets, the Panthers. They have two decent games against Commanders and Broncos, but then they got the Cardinals and Raiders. I mean, with the injuries to Philadelphia, I mean, if I'm the Cowboys in this sense, maybe you are Jerry, maybe you are taking a freaking moral victory after this. Because let's be honest, I mean, if Dak can keep playing like I said, he's going to keep you in almost every game. If he can play like this, he's going to keep you in every game, and that's what you need. So, congrats on the Cowboys. Congrats on the Packers for putting up a heck of a game on Sunday night. But either way, the NFL, just like you said, Chris, they need to do better. They need to find a way where there's no ties anymore. Damn it. This isn't, the 80s and 70s, for Christ's sake. Please make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Back when we didn't even have overtime. Spot on. You're 100% right. And college football's got to change their overtime rules too. I mean, we saw so many overtime games between Friday night and Saturday. We've talked about some of them. If you guys want to go back and check out our shout outs and call outs from week 5 in college football, plenty of overtime games we
Too
talked
many.
about. And those
Too many.
rules just suck, and it deprives teams of potential wins that they probably earned. But
Amen. Amen.
we have plenty more football to talk about, including more NFL. We have 2 Monday night games. I hate the NFL for doing that. I like the double headers when we get to watch both games. They're back to back. I don't know why we need overlapping games when I have to record the late game and then I already see some of what happens in it and go back and watch it in full. It's just stupid.
Get
We'll
two
talk
TVs,
more.
Chris. Get two
No,
TVs,
I want
Chris.
to watch both games in full. If they do a red zone style thing, I'll watch red zone once doing Sunday afternoons, and I know Peyton and Eli Manning do something like that, but they're a talk show. It's not the same thing. I want to be able to watch.
Oh, you
these
could
games
do
and
it,
watch
Chris.
football.
You could do it, man.
Nelson, man, when you love football like I love football, you gotta watch the whole thing. We need the time for it, and we know all of you feel the same. You want to watch more football, and then come back and listen to Nelson and I talk about it, so you can get the real in-depth look at it. Because supposedly we know our stuff, but we will be back to talk about those games, and we're sure plenty more because we know that there's going to be some reports coming out from both Major League Baseball and NFL with unfortunate injury news as always, and hopefully we'll get some positive news as well. But for right now, for Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been the first and final word.